everybody. My name is Trent. I'm sitting here with Betsy.
Hey.
For another episode of Never Seen It, your favorite podcaster's favorite podcast.
I'm glad that you're adopting this.
I'm just going to adopt that as our motto, I guess, going forward, because we keep on being told that anyway. All right. Today, we're going to be covering another movie that is kind of in the running. We're recording this, and this is coming out prior to when the actual Oscar nominations are coming out. But today, we're going to be covering A Real Pain.
A movie that we think has a good shot of being nominated for Best Picture, but we're not sure.
It's on a lot of people's lists, and even if it doesn't get nominated for Best Picture, it's at least going to be in the running for maybe Best Actor, maybe Best Supporting Actor, maybe Best Screenplay.
All things we'll cover at the end.
Yeah, and I would say we saw a trailer for this movie months and months and months ago when I found out, oh shit, Jesse Eisenberg made a movie? What?
Wrote, directed, starring in.
Yeah.
He's doing the triple threat, which is very difficult to do.
And I'll be curious to really know where this story comes from. Is it a personal story? Is it completely fictional? Is it based on anything? I really don't know. But when you are doing the triple threat thing, it's got to come from some kind of passionate place. But Betsy, besides the fact that Jesse Eisenberg is all over this thing, what do you know about this movie?
So obviously he is one of the two stars of this movie, the other one being Kieran Culkin, who is largely in conversation for Best Supporting Actor this year.
Yep.
And we'll probably spend a great deal of time talking about that because I've heard some things about that placement and maybe he shouldn't be in that category, but we haven't seen the movie, so we don't know. And then as far as what it's about two cousins who go to Europe and they're trying to trace their family history, like grandma and grandpa or their great-grandparents came over from Europe during the war. And so now they're on this tour to kind of rediscover their heritage.
Yeah, I rewatched a trailer. I think it might have been a different trailer than what I had seen before, or at least the first time. My understanding here is that, yes, they are two cousins who were maybe a lot closer when they were younger. Maybe they're, probably around our age, around 40. Maybe they lost touch, and they're coming back together to go to Poland, specifically because they're going to go on a Holocaust tour in Poland because they had just lost their grandma. And the Kieran Culkin character was very close to the grandma, and he's having a hard time.
And they're kind of an odd couple based on the trailer where one is into partying and fun and one is a lot more serious and stuffy.
Yeah, I think he's a family, the Jesse Eisenberg character, he's a family man, he's a grown-up, he's got a big boy job, but he's doing this as a tribute, or they are doing this as a tribute to their family, to their grandma and everything else. So beyond that, I really don't know. I know that, again, like you said, Kieran Culkin is very much being talked about as, holy shit, this guy, he's really knocking it out of the park here. And, he's been in the conversation a whole lot with the Succession show, and we talked a lot about him when we did our Never Seen It Movie Club episode in December when we watched Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. He's just a guy who seems like a really genuinely great guy, and he's starting to get some recognition for being an actor. So I'm really excited for this one. Anything else that you had, Betsy?
That is the extent of my knowledge for this one, but I, like you, am excited to finally watch it.
All right. Well, we're going to go and watch A Real Pain. We will be right back. And that was A Real Pain. Betsy, what'd you think of that one?
That was a nice movie. It's really funny. It's a little bit sad. It feels very real at times. And there's a lot of thematic things here that people our age and just a lot of people in general can relate to.
Yeah, our generation is very much this generation where there's a divide. You're either the Jesse Eisenberg guy with the house and the good job, the wife, the kids. Everything's going great. That's what you should be doing. Emphasis on should. But then you also have the Kieran Culkin type who just hasn't gotten it figured out yet, and they haven't been able to find their thing because the traditional thing that you're supposed to do either hasn't worked out for them or they just don't think that fits them.
Sometimes I think people are of a certain spirit where it's really just hard to figure out what is your purpose and what are you supposed to be doing. Like they talk about how he lights up every fucking room he goes into. He is so full of charm, but he also has these high highs and low lows where he just can't like make sense of himself internally
Yeah.
and then he doesn't know what to do with that as it pertains to other people. Like he's absolutely fascinated by other humans and is intensely interested in the world and living life.
He thrives on other people's energy and just being around other people, which is why he likes to hang out at the New York City airport.
But he also kind of hates other people and turns on a dime and is just like, you people all make me sick and corporations are ruining the world and this and that and the other thing.
Why aren't you outraged like I am at all of the injustices in the world? And, we could wait for this, but I think this is a good place to do it. I think these two characters are kind of two sides of the same coin. I said that they're about the same age. Like the real actors are only a year apart. Kieran is 42 and Jesse's 41. I mean, I'm 40 and Betsy's going to be 40 in a few months. So we're very much in the same thing. But I was reminded, and this is a strange thing to compare to, but I was reminded of the two main characters in the movie Clerks, okay? Where Kevin Smith wrote those two characters as himself. One guy is the guy who shows up to work every day. He doesn't like to do it, but he does it, goddammit. And the other guy wants to be a slacker and just make fun of everything in the back of the classroom, And the reason why these two characters in Clerks bounce off of each other so well is because they are the same person. You could say the same thing about these two characters here.
They also kind of address it here in the movie where it's saying, their main connection is their grandma. Grandma came from Poland. Grandma had two kids. Those two kids produced these two people.
Yes.
And so they're not distantly connected. They're quite closely connected. But that is enough of a separation of that original DNA that they are two vastly different types of people, even though they are, like you said, two sides of the same coin. I liked the thing that Benji said where he, in reference to David, he says, you're this really awesome guy stuck in the body of someone who's constantly running late. And it's up to me to fish him out. Like he knows they have this shared connection. He knows that the person that is more akin to him lives inside David, but the roads they have gone down in their lives have separated them. And this is just so true of any human beings, people you grew up with, people who were your friends when you were kids, your cousins, your siblings. The act of growing up and growing older and just becoming an adult takes people so many different ways that, it changes who you are fundamentally as a human. And it's really hard for the people who knew one version of you as a kid to see you as a different version of you as an adult. And sometimes those things work together even in their new evolution.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like this, where it's just like, I love him and I hate him and I want to slap him and I want to be him.
Like he remembers all the time that they spent together as children. Like they would be out all night running around New York City, getting into trouble, being kids. But then at a certain point, there is a separation. And I've talked about my own cousins that I grew up with when I was a kid. They were like my sisters. Like we would get into the same kind of shit, just in a much, much smaller town. And, over the years, I moved away. They kind of separated themselves and they all followed their own path. One of them is married and has kids and has a very, very traditional kind of family. Another one ended up getting married and kind of separating from the family a little bit and started to go down a weird road.
Doing her own thing.
Yeah, and another one has been having a lot of problems. Like, she ended up marrying a guy that, they're kind of meant for each other in the worst way. And, I moved away when I was a freshman in high school, and I went on my path, and I've kind of separated from my extended family in my own way. But I know that whenever we get together, and it's very rare, but whenever we get together, we still have that connection. We still have that playfulness.
You tap into the thing that bonded you in the first place.
Totally. And it's the same thing with, your cousins and your siblings. Whenever you guys get together, you remember all the great times that you had, but you can recognize that you are different people now.
Well, it was interesting because while we were watching the movie, you specifically called out one of my cousins because you have met members of my family and spent time with them. And one of my cousins has very recently, up until very recently, was living in Poland.
Yes.
She actually was there. And we have familial roots. My grandpa was 100% Polish. Now, we don't have
100%.
the same kind of family history as this. All of my relatives came in like the 1800s, so very much pre-war, and they're from like the Catholic Poland.
Right.
They're that, and they're dirt poor farmers. That's who my family is.
Totally.
As they've done the family history, it's like, well, they came from this tiny podunk town, and so did their grandparents and their grandparents before them, and they were all just dirt poor farmers.
Yeah, and in the weird circumstances in which your cousin was in Poland for years, she started to tour around the place and find her roots and find the connections where, your grandpa is from and everything like that. So just talking to her and finding out how fascinated she was with this history, this family history, and also sharing it with your own grandmother, who's still kicking it like almost 99 years old.
So yeah, it's a weird thing where, it ties to this movie where she and I only exist because of our parents, who are products of our grandpa, who has a connection to this place. There's like a weird, like, I'm a quarter Polish. I have no connection to it. Like, I know it's there, but I'm not tapped into my Polish roots.
No.
But then, like, I also have a friend who is a first-generation American. His parents were born in Poland. He's only a little older than me. So when I watch this movie and they're specifically in Poland, there's stuff like that I connect to. But bringing it back it's just those very close things that you don't really stop to think about. How you're just intrinsically linked and your very existence is tied to something you don't know and don't understand.
They talk about it in the movie where they're kind of referring to themselves as Americans, which, I mean, the very concept of America is just where everybody else from every other part of the world, the old world, came to settle to make a new life. And another instance where they're just kind of walking around thinking, oh yeah, I could have been just this like very Hasidic Jew walking around with a long beard and all of the regalia.
In a dark multi-universe that we could have existed in.
Like, that could have been their life if a whole lot of things could have been different. But what would it have been if not for the war? Those are the questions that cannot be answered. And I think we're reading some stuff here about what Jesse Eisenberg is trying to really portray in this movie, because again, he wrote it, he directed it, he's starring in it, so he has a message here. And I guess the short version of it is, it's okay to learn about your history, learn about where you came from, learn about where your family's coming from, learn the history of where we come from and why we are the way we are. But you can't hold on to it. You cannot stay in that misery and that pain that your ancestors really went through. You cannot stay there because it is unsustainable. You cannot live there permanently. You have to live in the moment. You have to go towards the future.
Meanwhile, he's kind of representing both sides of that because David is the one who's just like, I have a family and I've moved on and it's sad that grandma died, but I wasn't born in Poland and I didn't go through the war, and those are not things that affected me, so why should I linger in it?
He's not a practicing Jew either.
No. Meanwhile, Benji, he doesn't seem like he would be a practicing Jew either.
No.
However, he feels the need to feel it intensely because everybody else around him feels nothing.
Yeah, and
He feels like it's his burden to continue the misery,
yeah,
if it
continuing
will.
the suffering, yes.
Yeah.
And I know this is kind of what we do on this podcast, and I think the rest of this show is just going to be us analyzing these two characters. I love to do this with you, Betsy. And we already kind of started with the idea that these two people are two sides of the same coin. And I go back to the scene at the restaurant when Benji up and leaves to go pee-pee. You know, David starts to apologize for his cousin, and the people in the tour group are asking, is he always like this? And he starts to go down this road about, you know, he's always had a really hard time. And, you know, when our grandma died, and when he refers to his grandma, it's always kind of distant.
When David refers to her.
Yeah, when David refers to the grandma, it's always kind of distant. As opposed to Benji, who really reveres her and calls her by her name. It's not just a title. It's, hey, she was a real person.
Yeah, it's not just our grandma. It was Grandma Nori.
Right. But he starts to apologize for Benji and starts to go down and give excuses about what he's been doing and why he's been doing and why he is the way he is. But at the same time, he loves his cousin, and he knows that he is something and someone that he wishes he could be more like. And I felt that intensely in my own self, because I am like the Jesse Eisenberg character, where I am doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing. I do have a wife and a house and a job and the things that you should be doing. But I wish I could just go into a room and completely make friends with everybody in there and be interested in what everybody says and be empathetic to everybody. And I'm not that. And I don't think I ever will be that. But I feel like you can at least make the progress to go towards that and be more empathetic and try to, you know, let yourself go a little bit. Don't try to impress everybody, and don't be so afraid that you're going to offend people by being yourself.
Sometimes being blunt is actually helpful. Like, it seems like Benji is really, really intense and freaking everybody on this tour out. But then when they have a minute to think about it, they all like pull him to the side later and go, you know, I want to talk about what you said because I agree with you. Like, they all agree with him, but nobody is bold enough to actually say it out loud.
In that first confrontation on the train where he says, you know what, guys, we need to really feel the pain here. Why are we so good being in first class? We should be suffering like everybody else should be.
Yeah, don't you think it's contradictory and kind of, you know, ridiculous that we're all riding in first class and being hoity-toity when 80 years ago, all of our families were fucking suffering and being slaughtered and kicked out of the country. And, you know, he goes to that place that nobody really wants to address.
He says, quote, people can't walk around the world being happy all the time. And, you know, that's a thought that has entered my mind when I'm in a dark place where I am feeling things so deeply no one else can understand what I'm feeling. And this isn't coming from any kind of oppression or anything like that. No, it is just me feeling my feelings.
Existential ennui, if you will.
Sure. When I was in my 20s, it's why I had a fucking blog, you know, to write down all the shit that was in my head.
Everyone needs an outlet. You need somewhere to put it. And the thing with Benji is he doesn't really seem to have a place to put all of this.
Yeah.
So it's just when it comes out, where it comes out. It's really inconvenient sometimes. It's really loud often. And sometimes it's, you know, he goes too far and then he's just like, I got to go to the bathroom. I got to remove myself entirely.
It's stream of consciousness in his own mind. He doesn't even remember what he says when he says it.
No. And there's like an argument to be made that there's other things going on that we're not being told about him. But I think it's just he gets so into his own head and his high highs and low lows that he just blocks it all out completely and moves on. Something that he said that was so profound and cutting to someone next to him, he doesn't even remember fucking saying it.
When he stops the tour guide guy in the cemetery by saying, you know what, dude? We're in a cemetery. Maybe you need to, you know, tone it down a little bit. And even the tour guide is like offended at the time, but then he has a moment to really think about it and sit with it for a while. And he said, dude, you're the only person who has ever given me honest feedback. And thank you.
constructive, useful, you made good points, and I'm going to really think about
And he
that.
doesn't even remember saying it to the guy. He said, yeah, you should do that.
Yeah, what did I say? Like, it's incredible that there are people in the world like this, where they just say what they think in that moment and they never consider it again. Most people have like high functioning anxiety or really not high functioning levels of anxiety.
Just anxiety.
And it's just like, hey, remember that stupid thing you said when you were 12 and you're never ever gonna let it go? No one remembers that except for you, but you're gonna torment yourself forever about it.
Yeah. And like going back to like switching the opposite end of the coin here, going back to the dinner scene where Jesse Eisenberg is talking about Benji, he says also, quote, my pain is unexceptional, which is to say, you know what? Yeah, I go through issues and I have, little mini crises, and I don't feel like I'm being oppressed at all anymore. Like, I might be Jewish, but I don't feel it the way other people do because we live in the future. So I'm not really going to make a big deal out of when I feel the feelings that Benji's feeling.
And I have my own problems, but I take pills for those. And you know,
yeah.
why should I be so concerned about my own suffering?
Which is where he says the phrase, I love him, I hate him, but at the same time, I want to be him. That was such an intense scene with Jesse, and man, if we always talk about when, and we're way ahead of Oscar talk, but when they do the Oscar cutaway, when they're reading the nominations,
the clip.
Everybody has a clip from the thing that they're nominated from. That's his clip.
Yeah, if Jesse Eisenberg were to magically show up on this list this year, that would be what they would show.
Yeah, totally. Well, much like the Oscars, they have a lot of commercials, so we have one too. So here you go. We'll be right back. Recently I've been bored and feeling out of sorts. My normal podcasts just weren't cutting it anymore, so I talked to my doctor, and she recommended patreon.com/neverseenitpod, and now I feel better than ever.
Patreon.com/neverseenitpod is a once-weekly subscription podcast used to create joy. Side effects may include a sense of euphoria, aching muscles from smiling, and a dependence on the host's addictive personalities. Do not take this podcast if you are allergic to fun, have a history of laughing until you pee, or are afraid of a good time.
Talk to your doctor about patreon.com/neverseenitpod today. So an element of this movie that I think really frames the entire thing well is the fact that this is a tour group. I already mentioned the tour guide is a British guy who is fascinated by this corner of the world. He has studied everything. He knows all the facts and figures. And, he's a relatively young guy, probably the youngest guy out of the entire group. And I feel like, I don't know, he doesn't really fit all that well with all of these folks who are going there on this, could even call it a pilgrimage, to go and see, hey, this is a Holocaust tour. And we're touring Poland, yes, but we're not really getting a whole lot. And, Benji complains about, hey, why don't we actually talk to the people here? Let's get some local flavor in here.
Yeah, on this entire tour of Poland, I haven't spoken to one Polish person. I haven't spoken to any survivors. I haven't connected with this place at all. It's just like you reading a book and reciting things at me.
And going to see the tourist attractions. Like anybody could do that without hiring a tour guide.
Well, I was reminded watching this of when I went to Europe. So my friend and I went to Berlin, and we took a walking tour. We had a guided tour with a real German guy who spoke exquisite English. You would not know this guy was 100% German because his English was so flawless.
Yeah.
But it was like a 3-hour English tour, and it was a very small group. Ended up being 5 hours. It was like, it's approximately 3. But he just kept showing us these wonderful places, and people had a lot of really good questions, and he would walk us around. And it was raining. This is what I distinctly remember is it was raining that day, and he took us to all these different memorials, and he knew when to just be silent. Like there's actually this really massive Holocaust memorial in the center of Berlin, and it's designed to be reminiscent of a Jewish cemetery. So it's like these large stones and then smaller stones. And you just kind of go up and down these like rolling hills, and it takes up the entire like block. It's huge. And he just said, this is what it is. Come back when you're ready. And we just were free to walk around in absolute silence. And again, the rain made it a really kind of profound experience, combining those factors. And he showed us that, but he knew when to be quiet, which this tour guide, that's the criticism that Benji has, is you're in a cemetery. It's one of the oldest cemeteries in Poland. This is from the 1500s, but you're not letting people just stop and consider the fact that these were real people who existed and nobody is alive who knew them. Their ancestors could all be gone. And just remember that they're people. They're not just tombstones. I love going to cemeteries.
Yeah, same.
Because it's absolutely fascinating. But you have to have this kind of reference where it's just like, wow, this person was alive in, 1500, 1600.
Yeah, like going to Europe is even more intense because that part of the world is that old.
It's so old.
Yeah, like the oldest cemeteries that I've ever been to is when we went to New England a few times, and we went to the famous cemetery from the movie Hocus Pocus.
We did, yes.
We did.
Yes.
But not because, hey, it's from that movie, but no, this is fascinating.
We actually went there and then we figured out it was in the movie. We didn't go there because it was in the movie.
No, exactly. Yes. We just happened to be staying in Salem at the time, and hey, this is that cemetery. But yeah, like all of the extremely old headstones there, and how it just seems completely slapdash how they put everything together. And some people are above ground, a lot of people are below ground. The terrain is all kind of mangled.
There's no plan.
No. And like the cemeteries around here, they're all on flat land because that's all we have around here is flat land. New England is weird like that, but
again, just saying these things, like the fact that, oh, we're being tourists in a cemetery. So you completely understand Benji's moment of freak out where he's just like, people just move on and forget. They just forget that these are people, they are lives, they are individuals that used to roam the earth, and
whether this person that we're standing on top of was important in their life or not.
Maybe they were an asshole. You don't know, but they lived. They had an existence. Like, I get the point. Like, that whole thing he's talking about, history is fleeting and our connections to the past are fleeting, and you cannot constantly be thinking about it. But sometimes it's important to memorialize it in whatever small way you can.
Yeah, and to also keep up with the traditions of the people that are buried here, because all of these people, they're buried in Jewish graves. So why not do this small gesture and put the stones on top of the headstones and just show your respect? Nothing wrong with that. But kind of going back to the tour group, the rest of these folks are, some of them are interesting. Fucking Jennifer Grey is in this for why?
I was today years old. I had no idea she was in this movie.
Yeah.
And she's like somebody who, like, her parents or grandparents,
she just lost her mom.
There was a connection there.
Yeah. And she wanted to honor her mother by going back to her homeland and whatever, and just
she's kind of
get away.
And she's kind of rediscovering herself. Like, she's recently divorced and she's sort of midlife crisis time in her life. And
just wanted to get away, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And then you've got a guy who survived the Rwandan genocide, who discovered Judaism and
moved
is
to Canada,
more devout than these people who were born into it.
Yeah.
And then you've got another couple, same thing, where his parents or grandparents came over and he just kind of doesn't care. Like, this guy and his wife, they're just like, I don't know, we're connecting with it, sort of.
Yeah, like, our family left way, way before the war ever happened. There's all sorts of different types that are on this tour.
The
reasons why they're going there are completely varied. And then you go to David and Benji, and they're there to honor their grandma because in her will, she gave them some money to take the trip to see where she comes from. So it's all paid for. There's nothing else that they have to really worry about here, which is maybe why Benji is going, because I can't imagine he has any money.
He does not seem to have a lot of things going on
He
right now.
doesn't have a job. He lives at home with his mom.
Or at least used to. They're kind of vague about that. Like, he said, I did.
I guess. I don't really know that for a fact, because there's also some talk here about suicide. So if you don't want to hear that, just go ahead and skip this part. But 6 months ago, he tried to kill himself with a bunch of sleeping pills.
Well, they didn't explicitly say that because he OD'd.
He did OD, yes. But you have to take a lot in order to OD on sleeping pills.
Yes, and you kind of have to assume based on his erratic behavior that it probably wasn't a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the other thing that David is so upset about is how can somebody who, is so connected to this world and feels things so intensely, all of these roads lead to he just does that. All of the miracles and the tiny things that had to happen for people to exist in the first place. Like, we've talked about that, all the things that have to go right for you and I to be sitting here right now having this conversation.
Totally.
We talked about that many times. If you sit and think about it too long, it'll break your brain. And for somebody to just, oops, accidentally or on purpose, take too many sleeping pills, like that boggles David's mind.
Yeah, when they're having that discussion on the roof, he starts to lay a guilt trip on him. Like, how dare you? How could you possibly do that when your life, your personality is so bright and sunny and whatever else when you're with other people? But when maybe this is it, when he's alone, he's stuck with all of these thoughts and feelings. And if he can't get them out, then the only way to not have them echoing in his head is to sleep and sleep forever, maybe.
When they show him in this movie, he's either not sleeping at all or he's sleeping really hard.
Yeah. So there's got to be some kind of unspoken imbalance in his brain and just his life in general. I'm sure he's of an age that, nobody really wants to deal with a 40-year-old fuck up, and I wouldn't even call him a fuck up. He's just a guy who hasn't found his place in life.
Which is why when he tells that story about, did you know grandma slapped me once?
Yeah.
I was elated. It was the greatest day. I was riding that wave for days afterwards because she cared about him. It was a signal to him that she cared more about him than her own appearances around these people that she knew.
And I'll tell you this, at no time in this movie is he ever late.
No, he says he'll be there and he'll be there. He might roll out of bed 2 minutes before, but he's there.
He's there. He doesn't worry about, okay, shit, I need to take a quick shower, tell everybody I'm going to be a little bit late and blah, blah, blah. No, he's always there. And he sacrifices his own sleep and his own comfort for everybody else because his grandma slapped him, because he was a half hour late.
Meanwhile, David is clearly so strung up and neurotic that he also assumes that his cousin, the fuck up, is going to be late. He's the one kind of running late to the airport.
Right.
And he calls him 7 times. Meanwhile, his cousin's been there for literally hours.
Right, because he enjoys it.
He also doesn't have anything else to do. But I love how many times they show Benji I said it earlier, he is intensely interested in other people.
Yeah.
In a way that is gonna make some people uncomfortable. Like, some people do not open up to strangers ever.
Yeah.
And he's making friends with the fucking TSA agent. He learns more about this woman in 2 minutes than he probably has about, relatives.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he's holding up the TSA line where everybody else in New York City wants to get the fuck through the line. But no, he is so personable. He is so empathetic to everybody. As we keep on saying, he feels things so intently. And when he meets everybody in that first tour group meeting where everybody's kind of telling their story, he is fascinated by this Rwandan guy who escaped the genocide, became Jewish. And it's like putting your hand up to your chin and saying, that is fascinating. I want to know everything about you.
But the way he says it is like, oh, fuck.
Oh, shit, man.
Shit.
Oh, snap.
Wow.
But he's not doing it in a way that he's trying to offend somebody or anything. He is completely bought into you as a person, and he wants to know everything about you.
Or like the sequence where he says, take my picture in front of the statue. We're going to pretend we're battling with these guys.
Yeah.
And at first, David's like, that seems really disrespectful. And then everybody in the group is on board getting their picture taken.
Yeah. And the disconnect here, or even the dynamic between them, is very, very present here, because David is just hanging out there like he would love to have the enthusiasm that Benji has and be able to, let go a little bit. Hey, you're on kind of a vacation. Have some fun.
But also, he is in an extremely tiny group. This is the kind of tour you become very close with these people.
Absolutely.
And he keeps like referring to Jennifer Grey's character as what was with that woman. Like,
Right.
you didn't just meet her and know her story already.
Exactly.
You're so disinterested in engaging
Like,
with the world.
You mean Marsha?
You're not talking to her. You could go and talk to her.
Totally.
You could talk to anybody in this group, but you're always lagging behind because you're not engaging. Even though there's 6 of you, 6 people, and you can't even engage with this group.
And at the very end of the movie, where the tour guide says, that we're going to be losing the boys here. They're going to go off and see grandma, whoever. Everybody in that group, save for the one old man, gives him a big old hug and says, man, you're going to do great. It was so great to meet you. You're just the best guy.
To Benji.
And then the only person who says goodbye to David is the tour guide and just says, oh, bye, David. Wow. I was feeling that moment so much, because I would be the David guy who would not have connected with anybody else there. At least I feel like I would have anyway.
I think David needs to have more of a wingman, and Benji should be the wingman, but for some reason he can't pull it out of him.
Yeah.
He is struggling. I think it's the thing I was referring to earlier. It was easier when he was younger, and the older and more set in his ways David gets, the harder it is becoming for Benji to get that side of him out.
I feel like David has so much to lose in his own mind, whether it's like a rational thought or not. Maybe in his mind, if he says the wrong thing or does the wrong thing or offends the wrong person, he's going to lose everything. His job, his family, his kid, his status, everything. So he keeps it all inside and just says as little as possible to get through it.
And his whole reason for being on this trip is Benji. It
Yeah.
seems like he's not that engaged with where they are and why they're here. Like, he is just there for Benji.
He is, but at the same time, he's doing the things. Again, I keep saying this. He's trying to feel the things and do the things that you should do. You should feel reverence and sorrow and all of the other emotions that you should be on a Holocaust tour. But when they're leaving the concentration camp, hardly anybody is feeling anything, but Benji is. Benji is feeling things. So he is sobbing in his own hands after what he witnessed there. Nobody else is really reacting at all.
Everyone is just silent.
Yeah.
And they say, I feel kind of numb. I feel shaken.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all valid. Every person in that group, what they're feeling is valid emotion.
Yeah.
Not having been to the site, but I know people who have. And yeah, it's like you read, this is the first time a movie was allowed to shoot there.
A narrative movie. Yes.
Movie. Like,
Yeah.
this is not something that often happens in concentration camps. And I'm sure it's because of the story they're telling, and the reason for it being here is we are showing the horrors of what happened and what that does to this person who is reliving it.
Yeah. And, I think they do it in a tasteful way, because I don't think there's another word to describe it. A lot of the shots that they're having here are very still. Maybe that's the reason why they were able to do it.
It
because
lingers.
They're just lingering on a single shot. The camera is not moving. So it's as if it's a photograph.
Yeah, you are really experiencing what they are looking at.
Yeah. Because all they're doing is just kind of walking through these buildings and just hearing what the tour guide says, just as an explanation of what the building is.
He was wise enough in this moment to say, I don't need to explain to you what happened here.
It's self-explanatory.
Yeah. And he just said, this is the building we're in.
Yeah, I think the one thing he did was, I think he was reading somebody's diary
Yeah.
who
A real
who wrote
account.
it down while he was there.
Yeah. But yeah, even after that experience, David is still like, he doesn't really say anything. Like, how's everybody feeling? We don't know how David is feeling.
No one asks him.
Nobody asks. Well, he's in the group and everybody's being asked, but he doesn't offer up any feelings.
No, and they also don't ask Benji because everybody knows what Benji was feeling.
And then later, when they separate from the group and they go and see their grandma's house, you know, this is the one time David tries to engage and say, you know, let's leave a stone. Let's do it. She didn't die here. She's not buried here, but it's just, you know, a gesture, a symbol.
Totally.
It's the one time the entire fucking movie since he got to Poland that he is trying to actually connect.
Yeah.
In any small way. And it, you know, blows up fantastically because the neighbor sees and yells at them in Polish.
No, you're going to trip the old woman who lives there.
Yeah, just move the rocks, boys.
All right. Well, I don't think there's much else to talk about here about the movie anyway. I only had a few little things, but did you have anything first, Betsy?
The true mark of a fairly independent film is the fact that they used entirely classical music for the score.
Well, hey, it's
But-
also the local star, Frédéric Chopin.
Yes, there's a reason for it. And of
Yeah.
course, at the beginning, I was just like, oh, I know this music. I couldn't identify because I don't know composers and I don't know all the music. But then after a while, it's like, oh, this is throughout the whole movie. This is all it is.
It's all classical music.
And it wasn't until the end where they had a sign that said Chopin something.
Yeah, and I put the two and two together saying,
Yeah.
hey, they're going to the Chopin airport. Oh, this must be all Chopin music.
Because he is a prevalent Polish composer. It's
That's
like,
right.
okay, I get it. I see what you did there.
But yes, a mark of a very low budget movie is the fact that you have zero licensed music throughout it.
It's free.
Yeah, it's very free. I mean, this is relating to the whole fact that this is a tour group. This also feels like it is a group therapy session where everybody's kind of going there and telling their story about what they're feeling and why they're there, and they're kind of supporting each other throughout the way. And when they go and see some really sad stuff, they support each other there. And yeah, it's a group therapy thing. It's weird.
For this kind of a tour, I think that's expected. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think the average American is going to fly to Poland if they don't have some connection to it.
Yeah. I did appreciate the whole not backstory, but the little thing about Benji mailing himself to the hotel, mailing himself a package of weed just to have while they're in Poland.
And I want to point out the fact that takes some pre-planning. Like,
Yeah.
it has been there for days. Do you know how long international mail takes? Like, that was a dude who had a plan to get that weed there.
Yeah.
It might not be investing time in something useful in his life, but
He knew he wanted to have it and he did it.
it demonstrates a certain determination. Yes.
But when he is determined, we need to go and have this on the roof, and I don't damn the consequences. We're just going to say we're a bunch of dumb Americans who can't read Polish, the warning sign on the door. But he goes through with it. They get up on the roof and they have a nice moment as cousins. And then they get high, they go back to their room, and literally David is spacing out watching the hotel channel that is advertising the hotel and all of the stuff in Warsaw.
Here's the amenities.
I love that so much. He's not channel surfing, he's just spacing out.
As they raid the minibar.
Yeah. And my kind of last thing here is, it is a testament to how much Benji lives in the moment. He doesn't have a smartphone.
No, he has a phone.
He has a phone, but not a phone that plays music.
No, if he has a smartphone, it's an older, old one.
All smartphones play music. It's just, hey, most likely he doesn't have one, and he probably didn't bring his phone because it wouldn't work in Poland for one thing.
If he bothered to bring it at all.
I don't think he brought it because, hey, David's going to be there. He's got one, so why bother bringing mine? But all right, I think that's all I got really to talk about with the movie. However, we got to talk about Oscars here, and let's just start off with, do we think this movie is going to be nominated for Best Picture? Because again, we are recording this a week or so before the nominations come out, but this movie is on a lot of people's lists for Best Picture. Personally, I liken this movie to last year's Past Lives, where it's a very small story with a very small cast that has an intense story and intense emotions that go through it, and just a lot of self-introspection. I really like this movie, and I totally think that it's very much got a good shot.
Since they've expanded the category to 10, there's almost always the little indie movie that could.
Yeah.
It's not going to win Best Picture,
Of course
but
not.
I don't see why it couldn't be nominated. We'll see. Like, there's kind of a lot this year that are on the fringes, on the cusp, where we're just not
Yeah.
really sure how the lineup is going to shake out.
There's a ton, like, right on the edge that, shit, man, we could be completely wrong with a lot of our guesses so far, because everything up to this point is a complete guess.
There's some we feel stronger about. This one,
Yes.
though, is more like there's top 5 and then there's bottom 5 in the 10.
This is very much in the
This
bottom.
is more towards the bottom 5 in
Yeah.
the sense that I don't know. Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, and there's a ton more that we could have chosen from here. Like, we thought about doing Sing Sing, but Sing Sing was released way early on in the year, so Oscar voters tend to forget about movies like that.
We might still end up doing it, but we don't know until the 17th.
If it gets nominated, we're going to do it because we have to. That's what we're doing here. But at the same time, shit, we might have been like batting 1,000 here by all the selections that we've done, and we got some extra slots leading up to Oscar Day. So really, we're doing this because, hey, number one, we're trying to get a head start on things because Betsy is a very, very busy woman. She has a lot of things outside of this podcast, so we're trying to get ahead. But the rest of the Oscars, besides Best Picture, I would say, I mean, not talking about actors yet, but screenplay might be up there as well because the dialogue in this movie is very well written. It's very believable. But outside of those, I don't know where else this could really fit in.
Yeah, I think it's well directed, but there's such a large field this year of directors that I don't.
Sorry, Jesse, you got no shot.
I don't believe Jesse Eisenberg has outdone himself in any way to warrant a nomination.
No, it's a nice small
It's a nice movie though.
Yeah.
No, the one that everybody's talking about that is almost guaranteed to happen is Kieran Culkin. But this is the thing I want to talk to you about. He is being pushed for Best Supporting Actor. And now that I've seen this movie, I would argue that Jesse Eisenberg is the supporting actor and Kieran Culkin is more the lead. As
If
far
not
as like,
that, it's a dual lead.
or the most co-leads, yes.
Yeah.
Because they are almost entirely on the screen together all the time. And sometimes you're paying way more attention to Kieran Culkin than you are Jesse Eisenberg.
He's certainly having the bigger moments here. Like Jesse Eisenberg, like I said, the restaurant scene that I already mentioned, that would be in his clip. But count the other clips for Kieran Culkin that you can choose from.
But this is the thing that people like to talk about, and it's category fraud, category manipulation, where they put you in the category that you think you can win. And yes, I agree he should absolutely be nominated. I just find it a little curious that that's where we're pushing him. That's all I'll say about that, because just frankly, he's on the screen a lot to be considered the supporting player.
I agree. I really don't know what the hell the people who push stuff like this, I don't know where their thoughts are. I don't know what the qualifications really are for each category. Is it just, I want to go after lead, but I was on screen for 5 seconds? Can you submit yourself for that?
I feel like they do that with Meryl Streep all the fucking time. Like,
If
all
she's
those,
in a movie, she gets submitted.
Seriously, if you look back at the movies she got nominated for in the aughts,
Yeah.
there's a lot in there where it's like,
It became a
is
joke.
that a leading performance?
Yeah, it became a joke after a while. And thankfully, I mean, hey, she's not really doing a lot right now, so she's not been nominated.
We've broken that streak, but there was like a 7-year stretch where there was a lot of nominations for Meryl Streep.
Yeah, I think the last one that she was nominated for is one where she kind of merited it. It was the movie about the Washington Post.
Right, but I'm pretty sure she got nominated for lead actress, and would we call her the lead in that movie?
Was she actually nominated for lead?
I think so, but we'd have to go fact check that.
She's at least, again, co-lead with Tom Hanks in that movie.
But
She's on screen a lot.
But do you see my argument with that? Because she
Yes,
is
of course.
far from the main character of that movie.
She is a main character for sure. But we're not talking about that right
But
now.
this is the problem with the category.
I
It's
know.
just very fast and loose, and you put people where you want to win.
that's the problem with this.
Last year, everybody was saying, oh, well, if they had put Lily Gladstone in the supporting actress category, she would have won last year. Instead of putting her in lead, and she didn't win.
But
It's
then, do you waste that thing with Divine Joy Randolph?
Quiet. Listen to me for a second, because I watched that movie and I thought that was a lead performance.
Totally, I'm with you.
So I'm watching this movie and I think this is a lead performance, but they're going to put him in the supporting category. And is he going to win? I don't know. I guess we'll find out in a few months.
Here's my problem with this entire thing. We're talking about, and not just us, the entirety of
the industry.
Everybody is talking about this question and not how fucking awesome Kieran Culkin is.
Oh, he's amazing in it.
Absolutely.
He should absolutely be nominated. I just think the problem is with the awards ceremonies.
I agree with you.
I'm glad we agree as we scream at each other.
Oh, man. I don't know where to go after that. But yes, suffice it to say, I really like this movie, and I think you do too.
It was fun. No, of course I like this movie. I said it at the beginning.
You know me, though. I like a good talkie, and this is kind of all talkie for me. If I'm being honest here, there's not really a lot to look at here. Yes, the landscapes are nice, and I do enjoy the dialogue going back and forth with the two leads and everything like that.
I would disagree, because there was at least one moment in this movie, because we watched it at home, where you paused it and went back because you were like, that looked cool.
I did. When they get to Warsaw and we're just kind of getting a slice of what Warsaw looks like, there's this overhead shot of this crazy traffic intersection where there's trains going down the middle and there's actual traffic, the cars and buses and everything else going around it, where it's really a train intersection more than a traffic intersection.
And then we're also getting like architecture and the way that Warsaw is old world and new world.
Yeah.
And they're just like little pockets of what's left. The remnants of the old world are still there, but it's like between the buildings or off in the distance. And
Totally.
yeah, that's a cool way that they featured those things in this movie.
Yeah. All right, last thing I wanted to mention. We haven't talked about the title yet. And I feel like the title has so many different meanings here that you don't really see a whole lot anymore with movies. I think there was another one last year. It was The Zone of Interest that I just did not understand. I mean, it's another fucking Holocaust movie, but I don't understand what the meaning of that title is. But this one, there are multiple meanings of it. How do you interpret the title?
I mean, yeah, this guy is a pain in the ass, but also it's about the suffering that these people all think they're supposed to be feeling.
Yeah.
Like, what is your pain? What is that thing inside of you that it causes your enduring suffering that we are entitled to as human beings or required to do as human beings?
I think that's really what it is. It is, yes, he is, God, he's such a pain, you know?
He's a real pain.
Yeah, but at the same time, he himself is insisting that, no, you need to be feeling the real pain that all of our ancestors here felt, and I don't understand why you're not feeling that pain with me.
Yes, his pain is real also.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like a title like this that you can have multiple interpretations. But all right, Real Pain, that is enough for this one. If you would like to tell us what you thought about A Real Pain, Jesse Eisenberg, Kieran Culkin, Jennifer Grey,
category manipulation,
all of that stuff, email us, neverseenitpod@gmail.com. We received one such email from our distinguished contributor, Mitch from Saskatoon. And just a timing note, this episode is being recorded before Wicked, the episode, comes out. We got an email from Mitch about Wicked before we even put out the episode. So I guess he saw that we were going to be putting it out. But Wicked. He says, howdy guys, I know, I haven't been emailing for a long time, and I am so sorry. My family watched Wicked, and it's the perfect way to get back on track in the new year. Welcome back, Mitch. I have no background with this musical, though I know a few songs. I went in thinking that it would be a cute 2-hour and 40-minute long movie, and I got way more into the character development and laughs than I ever imagined getting. It was such a fun ride. I wasn't initially sold on Ariana Grande as Glinda before going in, but I loved her immensely upon viewing. She's got more Broadway in her than Pop, perhaps. Yeah, I think, didn't she just come out and say, hey, the voice that I was able to gain after I did this movie, I like this. I'm going to keep this.
Yeah, she has come out and said something to the effect of, that voice might be a permanent part of me now.
Yeah. I mean, cool. She can move on to Broadway. And I mean, Pop is pretty much been taken over by the Swifties. So
listen,
there's no room for you anymore, Ariana.
Listen, all of the, Barbara Streisands and Bette Midlers of the world, they're getting very old and they're not going to do this much longer. There's going to be an opening for someone who wants to do kind of Pop and Broadway. Like, think about it.
You're not wrong.
Think about it, Ariana. I'll come to your concert when you're 60.
Even the two people who were in the Wicked show, Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel, they're not really doing much anymore. They're getting up there in age.
Yeah, they tour and stuff. They do Broadway, but it's just...
They're not going to do it forever.
They're not going to do it forever.
Anyway, back to Mitch. I love the images, the effects, the jokes. It's all fun. The only issues that I have are that I did not realize that it was only half the story. Seriously, no clue. It was just part 1. Now I have to wait a year to see the rest of Jeff Goldblum.
I believe we discussed that in the episode. Imagine
Yes,
walking
we
into
did.
Wicked not knowing that it was only part 1, and Mitch has proven to us it is possible.
That's right. You're going to get almost like a 6-hour Wicked thing when this is all said and done. All right, continuing on. To be honest, though, it is worth it. I will try to get to the theater next November to sing along with all of the other theater fanatics. Keep it warm down there in the USA. Canadian winter is strong this year. Mitch, that guy who always used to write from Saskatoon. Okay.
That was a lot of extra letters. Thank you, Mitch.
It's a lot of letters there in Canada. I don't know what they do up there. But yes, thank you, Mitch, for that email. Even though our episode isn't even out yet, you knew your job and you already fulfilled your responsibility as a super fan. Hey, I'm going to call it right now. You are a super fan, Mitch. No longer distinguished contributor, super fan Mitch.
And we don't mind if you want to email us your thoughts about a movie that you know that we might be covering, or we covered it but haven't listened to the episode yet. Because we just want to hear what you thought about the movie too.
Hey, after the Oscar nominations come out, it's full season. Just don't spoil anything in the email, because we're not going to read that portion of the email anyway. And just for our own, hey, don't spoil the movie for us either.
You just don't spoil movies. That's a dick move.
Yeah, just your feelings about the movie. I mean, if you want to talk about a moment, just tag it first. Hey, spoiler town, don't read this.
Also, if you're going to see Wicked, the second part in the theater, don't sing along unless it is explicitly the sing-along version.
Yeah, don't do that.
And don't film in the theater. I have so many quibbles right now.
Yeah,
so many problems.
Thankfully, nobody did that in our theater. However, I did respond to somebody online. They were saying something to the effect of, people who have their little flasher go off on their phone when they get text messages or phone calls. This guy said that these are people who they share really stupid memes on Facebook and think that they're really clever. But in our theater, when we watch Wicked, somebody 4 or 5 rows ahead of us, their flasher went off in the theater half a dozen times and didn't do a damn thing about it. Thankfully, nothing was audible. There was no sound coming out of his phone. But in a dark theater, you're going to see that shit.
And you and I so rarely go to the theater that stuff like that immediately triggers us. We're just what is that? Make it go away.
Yeah.
We went to a movie earlier this year, and the woman next to me somehow was playing music on her phone, and she couldn't hear it. But I have exceptional hearing,
Yes,
even
you
at the
do.
ripe old age of almost 40.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's something emitting from your bag. I literally leaned over before the movie got going, and I was like, I think your phone is playing music.
Yeah.
And she's like, how did you hear that? Because I can hear it. Please make it stop.
Please. There was another moment here where there's a couple of ladies on your side talking during the movie.
Full volume.
Fuck.
I shushed them. I
Multiple
shushed
times.
them multiple times.
And they
if,
just kept going.
if I had been able to get out of the row without going past them, I would have reported them to somebody. But I was like, I'm just going to try to enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
And I managed to, all things considered.
Yeah, that was when we went to see Anora, but yeah, just shut the fuck up in
Don't
theaters.
suck. Is this so hard? Just this.
If you cannot behave in a movie theater, just wait till it's on video. You can just pay less money to watch it at home. But
This is
anyway,
not your living room.
Anyway, end of rant. If you would like to rant to us about your movie theater experiences, email us at neverseenitpod@gmail.com. We got the Facebook, we got the Twitter and the Instagram and the Blue Sky. Follow us on there. All the links are in every description. Of course, we haven't mentioned it yet. Patreon.com/neverseenitpod. We are premiering our brand new show this month called Never Scream It 101, where Betsy and I are going to give ourselves an education in horror. So all you horror freaks out there, get excited. Go sign up at Patreon. We're going to try to not disappoint you.
And freaks is not a derogatory term in
No.
this use. We know you're freaks. You know you're freaks.
You call yourselves your fucking horror freaks.
We want to understand your freakiness. And so we're doing this.
We're going to be freaks along with you guys. But all right, that is going to be the end of A Real Pain. Next week, circumstances being what they are, they push back the Oscar nomination announcement from Friday to Sunday. So instead of, putting out a late episode, waiting until the announcements are out, we're just going to watch Amelia Perez because, hey, it won one of the main awards at the Golden Globes a little while ago.
It won a few Golden Globes.
Yeah, so it's not really something we want to cover, but it's going to get nominated. So, hey, here we go. But until then, my name is Trent.
And my name is Betsy.
We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.